Good morning, everybody. Mike Winkler here, and I wanted to take a minute and I wanted to talk about the i2 plugin for Qradar. Now, i2 is about a mile outside my area of expertise. It's one of these things I'm still learning, but they just integrated it with Qradar in a way that definitely doesn't use everything yet, but it shows us some fun piece of functionality, and I wanted to walk through this and kind of show off what it does in the version 1 of the plugin. So before we get into the plugin itself, what is i2 and why do I care, right? The whole idea of, I got a bunch of data. How many ways can I view it? What can I do with it? So i2 creates a common schema, right? So if I've got date and the data is coming from my HR database and from my Qradar, that i2 knows how to kind of correlate that. Or if I've got location or a whole bunch of these fun things, whatever you want it, so you have a common pivot point. We can use a lot of fun non-traditional data sources, like stuff from your HR, like stuff from Google Maps, like stuff from the no-fly list, right? All of these fun things you don't normally think of as a data field, i2 will pull in, right? So it's a cool product by itself, Qradar data aside. It allows you to search the external and the internal data at the same time. So if I'm looking at offenses that came out of Qradar and I want to compare them to the time people came in and out of my facility, I can pull this into a common framework with Qradar and take the badge access logs and look at them at the same time as the Qradar logs in a single pane of glass, which I think is particularly cool. And it's a bunch of visualization tools, which I'm going to show off here in just a second, so that you can look at this data. One of the criticisms of Qradar with a certain amount of truth to it is I only give you so many ways to look at the data, and i2 is something we can take and we can visualize in a bunch of different ways, right? Statistical and multiplane and all of that good stuff. And of course, the App Store app has been available for a little while. So I have taken my Qradar server here, and I took one with a bunch of offenses from foreign countries and all of that, and I went into the App Store and I installed the i2 app that you'll notice I have a button for up here at the top of the screen. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to grab this whole page of offenses because I want to find non-obvious relationships between my offenses in Qradar. Okay, fair enough. So I'm going to tell this send to analyst notebook. Okay, and the first thing Analyst Notebook did is it said, hey, can you tell me where your Qradar server is? I'm like, sure, it's right here. And then I don't have certificates set up here in my test net, so it's giving me a certificate error, but I'm going to tell it continue because that's just fine. And then I have a few minutes of it doing this, and it says, okay, here is all of the offenses I have inside Qradar, and there is quite a few. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to tell this to expand conditions with conditions to IP addresses from Qradar. And do I want everything? Yes, I do. And I've got everything selected, so this may take it a minute. Okay, so the resume time was actually right around 6 minutes to get a whole bunch of offenses in. And what this did was it just pulled everything in from Qradar and looked at it in how many different ways I had it going on. And I'm like, okay, so that's pretty cool. Let me zoom in on this. And I am seeing that I have 192.168.2.255. I have got 4 different offenses with, right? And there's the drill-in data on that given offense, and I've got the numbers so I can reference it back to Qradar. And you will notice that this .46 has a shared offense, right? So these guys both have been infected by the Whiska malware. And I could see that the primary box we're looking at the center of the arrangement, .255. I've also got an arrangement with 201, right? So you can see that a certain number of these offenses, when we look at them, are attached to, in this case, a given subnet, but I can see patterns in the data, right? And this is just the easy stuff, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, so some of these are one offense to one host. When I look at 10.0.240.143, I can see this guy's had 2 significant offenses in the last couple of months, right? Or last couple of days, excuse me. And this is just like the kind of most basic use of it. I can see 10.64.1.50, how I've had 3 offenses on this guy, okay, in just the time frame, the 15 days I have my offenses up there. And one of them, 180, which is a massive data leak, I share with another host. Now, this is, any good i2 guy will tell you, a very single use case and a tiny percentage of what the product does. My big spiral up here in the upper left-hand corner says, I have an awful lot of offenses are coming from places with no IP information. Maybe this is of interest to you, but maybe it isn't. But so if you want to investigate on this, if there's a question of how many are coming from places where there is no IP information, I've got the data in front of me. I just switched this to kind of the grouping view, and this is something that maybe is of value to you, maybe it isn't. But I can go through and I can look at these things in a hierarchical view, which I think, or peacock, which I think is a very funny name. And it's going to show me all of these, and we can move the data around however you need to see it. That's a little bit of an eye test for my taste, so I'm going to zoom in. Okay, and it's going to show me in the kind of fully expanded view, or we can move these around however it is you want to see them. Okay, but there's a whole fun number of bar charts and histograms by default. Okay, and this is literally all I did was install this to my Qradar, and I'm going to see categories, counts and ends, credibility. Well, let's take a look at credibility, for example. Most of mine are no big deal. They've got a credibility of 3 or 4. I don't have any that are too bad. Okay, and I can look at the number of event counts. So most of mine, the vast majority of mine, are under 500 events. Okay, fair enough. And I'm just kind of looking through some of these easy ones here. Relevance, remote destination count, representation, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to take local destination. Well, the vast majority are 0 to 1. I've got one with 2 to 3. The offense account under 500 massively. But let's say I am kind of curious about this one guy that has between 23 and 23.5 events to an offense. Well, it's kind of a question. It's going to highlight the offense for me, and I can see that this is one of the ones with no sending IP information. And here's the full drill down on it. Now, we can search the local repository, which I haven't set up because I'm just messing with I2. I'm just learning it myself. Okay, but this shows you how your Qradar data works and how we can look through this. If you have other data sources or all these fun things, we can add this to it. But I wanted to give you a quick snapshot on what we can do with the i2 Qradar plugin. I've been Mike Winkler, and thank you.